It's minicamp and OTA season, and today we're looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and getting our first look at Tez Johnson. We're going to watch him catch some balls, work through some drills, and everything else. But before we begin, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're looking at practice from rookie camp to OTAs, minicamp, soon to be training camp. We're seeing what your players are doing behind the scenes. Those rookies, those quarterback battles. Soon you're going to be drafting a lot of these guys in fantasy football. You need to know what they're doing behind the scenes on the field. Click that button so you know. We're looking at Tez Johnson here today. We're going to watch him work through some drills here. Minute and a half. We're going to talk some balls, so we're going to keep looping this like we always do. Here he is. Here he is. He fell to the 7th round after killing it at the Senior Bowl. Smaller wide receiver, so you kind of expect that. But now we're on a depth chart that is deep but fascinating. And with it being deep, you have talent there. So considering his skill set, you don't have to expect more than his scope, more than what he can deliver. So now he can really focus on his role. And this is a wide receiver that you look at the spreadsheet at his numbers when it comes to athletic specs and size and draft capital, and you may scratch your head a little bit. But you go watch the tape, you go watch the Senior Bowl, what he was cooking up there. He can create separation, and he's got very sticky hands. A very technical, nuanced wide receiver. There's Minicamp right there running up. And what that means is we have a deep roster here at wide receiver, especially with the vets. Godwin, Evans at the top, McMillan, and Buka. And we have some guys there at the bottom too, with Palmer and everybody else. Tez Johnson, though. Right now, your focus is climbing the depth chart, getting on special teams, getting some routes in there, and he can do that. He can do that. He's very reliable. So, honestly, him mixed in is just another weapon you can deploy. Another weapon. Like, you're watching him out there, and some of you guys are shaking your head like he's too small, he's too this, he's too that. If he was drafted in the range of Buka, or if he's expected to be McMillan or Buka or Evans or Godwin, then I'd agree. But now we got a role here on this team where he can work alongside those guys. And he gives you a different club out of your bag for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for Baker Mayfield. You put him in the slots, and he's going to break off separation against that linebacker, that nickel corner. He's going to do that. You put him on special teams, he's going to be consistent. He's going to be reliable. His hands are reliable. Proved that at Oregon, at Troy. That's what you're getting here from Tez Johnson. That's what we're seeing here in camp. And the thing is, Baker Mayfield doesn't care. Like, if you're creating separation, you're getting open, you're going to get your targets, you're going to get your opportunity. If you're looking at this for fantasy football, that is a totally different story. When you're looking at fantasy football, you're looking at a wide receiver who can be productive in like the top 12, top 24 of wide receivers, top 30, 35, depending on the scope of your league. Tez Johnson's going to be a good role player for this team. He's going to help the Tampa Bay Buccaneers move the football. If you're looking at him for dynasty, because redraft, you're just watching from afar, he's super cheap. And anybody who's super cheap and that's your flavor, go ahead and get it. Like, he's going in UDFA range in a lot of drafts, depending on how many rounds you're drafting at. Some people pull the trigger late because they like Baker Mayfield. They like the volume in this offense. A lot of people's not, due to the depth chart here. And they figure they can just pick him up if he starts flashing a little bit. He's flashed a little bit in practice. However, we're early in the practice, just in the mini camps, OTAs, rookie camp. I call it spring ball. Spring ball for the NFL. Technically, first day of summer was yesterday, and most of these camps are wrapped up anyways. So, spring ball. Spring ball. And now we're going to training camp here soon. We'll see how that's going to look with the pads on. But I look for him to get deployed out there, moved around, in the slot a lot, mixed in with these other wide receivers. First couple years, it's going to be log jammed because you got the two veterans there. Buka, McMillan, maybe one of the other veteran wide receivers will be there longer than expected. And then eventually he'll be on the field. He'll be good when he's on the field. Like, he is very technical. Like, he'll be able to create separation. He'll be able to do that. He won't have like a huge route participation rate or target share, unless he really, really exceeds expectations. The odds are against that historically and statistically of him exceeding expectations to where he's like a top 10 wide receiver due to draft capital, due to size of just athleticism, due to sheer size. Well, you might get a little Tank Dell out of him. Like a different player, but you might get a little Tank Dell action out of him where you deploy him deep, you put him in a slot, you move him around a little bit, he's creating separation. Really, the focus is on the other wide receivers, but considering that focus is on the other wide receivers, he might sneak some games out of that, and that's going to help the Bucs. That's going to be hard to rely on for fantasy football. I know a lot of people are here for fantasy football, but he's also going to be super cheap to where you can moneyball that to see what happens with the lottery ticket. But again, that's on you and what you want to do, the scope of your league and everything else. A lot of leagues aren't deep enough for him. In some leagues, you just know because you're just picking up everybody. And some people like it that way. I am in some super deep leagues. I'm in some Devy leagues where he's already been drafted for a few years, and that's how it is. He's been on a team for the last couple years. Ever since he's been at Oregon, he's been on a team. I'm in some leagues like that. So when I talk fantasy, I like to go a little deeper, depending on who you are. But for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you're a Bucs fan watching this, what does that tell you? You got a good wide receiver in the 7th round that could climb your depth chart and carve out a role and help out your team. Special teams in the slots, in moments where you need to get that first down and you're going 5 wide, you got a wide receiver that could be rather dangerous in those situations. And a lot of people look at wide receivers and they're like, he ain't going to be Justin Jefferson. He ain't going to be Jamar Chase. But you also got to look at your wide receiver depth chart as your golf bag. You got to have different clubs. And for the club he is, that smaller, twitchier wide receiver, because his 40 for his size wasn't spectacular, but you look at that vertical, 37.5 inches coming out of high school. He ran like a 4.61 coming out of high school as well and increased his 40 throughout his collegiate career to, 4.51, I believe. You're looking at a guy here that's got some pop in the steps still. And that pop, you need it just off the break on the route, off the release. Very reliable hands. They're going to use them in special teams. They also used Emeka Egbuka in the special team drills as well. They're just trying to get these guys out there, get them used to it, see what they got, see who they want to use. But special teams is going to be a big deal for him if he can get out there. That's going to give him more reps and give him more value to the team. But you're looking at a wide receiver here that we saw out of Oregon that was very reliable, very solid. You got to the Senior Bowl, and he was one of the wide receivers we were talking about the most. Day 1 in practice, he was the guy lighting it up. He was that wide receiver. We also had the Iowa State kids, Nolan Higgins, but still, he was the guy that had the flashy routes, that was creating the separation, that was beating cornerbacks that were drafted ahead of him by rounds. They had a hard time covering him. I get it. 1v1 drills are different, but they weren't like tick-tocky routes. They weren't routes for show. What I mean by that, they're routes with like too many extra steps that you don't really use on the field because it's too slow to get open. It disrupts the timing of the play. But that's what you're going to get out of him. You're going to get a technical, nuanced wide receiver that can help your team. He would help a lot of teams. 4th wide receiver, 5th wide receiver, 3rd wide receiver, depending on where he's at. Just no matter what, down there. You don't want a wide receiver like this as your wide receiver 1 unless he really, really exceeds expectations. Spreadsheet says that's unlikely. But you got a guy here that you need to pay attention to. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing watching. Catch you on the next video.